So. All right.
And Betty Akiba's husband, she was afraid she wasn't going to be able to make it today. Her husband's having some issues, health issues.
Oh,
So
no.
I will pretend to be Betty when her pictures come up.
Well, tell her we wish her the best too.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I shall.
Bill, it's up to you.
Yep, well, we'll get this show on the road here. I just have 3 announcements that I want to make. One is, I think just about everybody here was on the last meeting when we spoke about Graham removing himself from the steering committee. And I just wanted to make sure that it was on this video so others who couldn't be with us today would understand that. He's, I think, out in California or planning to be out there to visit some family, but hopefully we'll see him, starting the new year. I am going to put the drop dead date of February 1st on my leaving the steering committee, because I think over the next.
Bill, let's change the drop dead date.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I know, I always talk about we have our expiration dates now.
The transition date. How about the transition date?
Right. Okay, the transition date. Yeah, I used to use that in business, that word a lot. So, what we just probably will need to understand is the need of a steering committee, or make it something, call it something new, like a facilitation committee or something, for being able to bring the Zoom meetings to you, and as well as communication. And the third thing I had was Chris Ridley. I think he's stuck at the dentist again today, but he wanted me to pass on to everybody that in Farrington, we have something called the Belty Gazette. It's a newsletter that goes out to all the residents. And in that, there's a scene where they take a lot of photographs from people in Farrington and actually publish it in the newsletter. So he was pretty excited about it, that he's going to have some of his images there, and was hoping that people will take a look at it.
Where is it available, or is it online?
It's online in Farrington. If you don't live in Farrington,
You don't get it?
there's
Oh, well, I won't make a note then. Saves me the trouble. Thank you.
Is there any other kind of announcements, thoughts that people want to get out to the floor?
I would just like to add on to your statement about the steering committee or the planning committee or whatever we're going to call it, that we would love to, whether we do this committee of the whole or not, we probably are going to need some sort of central group, and we'd love to have someone volunteer. Right now, it's going to be Mike and me, it looks like, which is, we can do a great job, but we'd like to have a little bit more help. So if anybody wants to volunteer, we'd love it.
Yeah, Helen will do just fine, but I'm the one that needs the help.
Mike and Helen, do you guys meet just by Zoom at this point?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Because I'll get involved with it. But again, because of I'm supposed to stay away from crowds or anything, I've got to do everything by Zoom for a while.
Me
another 6
too.
months.
No worries. Yeah, no worries. I think we're all in that boat with Omicron.
Okay, all in favor of Frank? Aye. Thank you, Frank. Thank you.
Okay.
Unanimous, Frank, unanimously.
And Frank,
I like your emoji, Frank.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just saw it.
The steering committee meetings are on the off Tuesday from our regular meeting, and the meeting code for Zoom is the same one as for this meeting.
Okay,
So-
all right, got it.
And I don't know
So
if we
see you off
decided,
Tuesday.
yeah,
So Tuesday at 11.
yeah, same time, same place.
Okay,
So
Great.
democracy in action.
Yeah,
That's
like Tony the Tiger. Great.
Oh, my gosh, I haven't thought of that in ages.
I'm old.
Well,
So
so,
we're going
all
to tips
are.
and tricks or what?
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, tips and tricks. Maybe, I think one thing that was mentioned in one of our other meetings was sometimes people didn't know what they didn't know. So for the next 3 meetings, we're going to have 3 different types of what we might call exposure compensations. The one that I'll be talking about is the one that you can do on your camera while you're shooting. We're going to have another one where it's multiple exposures within your camera called HDR. And then there's the third type that's bracketing, where you might take 3, 5, 7, 9 different images and then be able to bring them together. But we're going to do one each meeting just so we can digest it. And then maybe at some point, take those 3 and put it into some type of workshop where we can all get together and dig a little deeper into it. The reasons why we have this thing called exposure compensation is that most times when we're taking images, when we're taking pictures, we're using what they call matrix metering. It's taking the average of the entire image that we're looking through the viewfinder, and it's coming up with what it believes is the perfect exposure. Doesn't always happen, happens most of the time. So by using the exposure compensation on the camera, what we're doing is we're just nudging either a dark part of the image or a light part of the image to go in the opposite direction to make it more pleasing. We'll look at the physical way of doing it toward the end of this. But you know, the whole idea is with the exposure compensation on your camera, what it's actually doing is affecting your ISO. It's making your sensor a little more sensitive, or it's making it just a little less sensitive, so that something that is really important in your image can come out, you know, more like what you're actually seeing. Let's see, my turn to open up.
Oh, here's Betty.
hey Betty.
oh, hi, Debbie. How's everything?
Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yes,
Yeah,
Okay. This was out in Half Moon Bay last year. Well, no, still this year. And it was completely overcast all 3 days. Now, this is an image that can fool your matrix metering in your camera. You know, it's a very light sky because it was overcast. It's reflecting off the water, which actually brightens it up. So the area of some of the boats of the land that's out in the center there is on the dark side.
Mhm.
And this image was taken with one stop of extra light. So it would have even been a little darker, but this is the only one I had as an example. So this was the first time I ever used exposure compensation because there was too much light in the image, which means that it darkened anything that wasn't bright. So as an example here, I'm going to take you through 3 images. This image here, if the major reason for taking this picture was our pelican there, it really didn't come out very well. You know, we can bring it up a little bit and you'll see the feathers barely. His beak and his head is pretty much all the same color. And this was because there's so much light up here, all down in the water, that what it did is it made its best judgment of the entire scene, but there's just so much brightness in it that anything, that it actually underexposed the pelican. So by using the exposure compensation and moving it up one stop, now we're starting to see a little more detail.
Could you go
You're
back?
starting
to
to
the
see-
other one? Sorry, just flip it again quickly so I can see the difference. I'm sorry, Bill.
Wait, let's see. Did I go the right way? Yeah.
Oh, there
Now I
you
gotta
go.
move
Great.
everybody over to the
Yeah,
other
yeah.
side.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so this was the first one.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That's right, I don't. Now I can't move these. Now I can.
All right. Okay, yeah, now you got the.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, so this was the first jump up. Then when you go another stop, now you can really start seeing
Oh, yeah.
a lot more definition, in the beak and in the head.
Mhm.
Now, if you have a camera that has a lot of dynamic range, you can do this in post pretty well.
Yeah.
But it's always best to try to get that image right when you're out there, because you can't take it a second time if you've already come back home. So by being able to do this, you can see that you can pull a lot more definition. But at the same time, everything that's light around it is going to get a little lighter too.
Mhm.
And
Oh, yeah.
there's the brightest of brightest, but look at the detail, how much
That's
how much
amazing.
more you have.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, I've always used exposure compensation in basically landscapes or shooting around where it's actually a little darker than normal. So this was the very first time that I used it for actually where there was too much light and the lens was closing too much and it wasn't giving me enough detail in the pelican. Now,
Well,
the
Bill,
other,
you went up 0.3, you went up 0.03. Is that what you
I
did?
did it by one stop for these
Complete
examples.
stop.
Complete stop, but you can do it a third.
Right, because on exposure compensation, it goes 0.03 to 0.07 plus and minus. I
Right.
thought that's what you were doing.
Yeah, that was full stops.
Okay,
So that was really underexposed on the original. And it took, at least 2 stops to start pulling a lot of good detail out of it. Now, this is an example of how you would use it when you're maybe doing some landscape photography. On the right-hand side here, you see that there's a dark tree. The mountains are a little on the dark side. So your matrix metering in your camera sees most image having darker portions of it. So what it does, it opens up the lens to expose for these dark areas. But what it does to your sky, it blows it out. Now, the problem with this is if you would take this picture and go home and probably do something in post-processing to bring the blue back. The problem is when you hear the terminology, something is blown out, the highlights are blown out, that means it's turned white. If it's turned white, there's no data in there anymore to put anything back. You may have to replace it with another background, but you're not really going to be able to bring back what you saw that day. Where on this side, it's showing that because it was now adjusted, the exposure compensation, to underexpose it a bit more. It then captures more of these, of the background of the sky. So if this was a sky that had really defined clouds, you still might have it completely white here, but you would show a lot of the definition of the clouds by underexposing the image by 1 or 2 stops. This is what it kind of looks like on your cameras. Uh-oh. What am I doing? I'm screwing it up. I'm trying to move me. I'm trying. Okay. So on your camera, on some Canons will show the plus and the minus. On the Nikons, this is what I tend to see. And on Fuji and even some older cameras, I think Canon might even have the dial on the top that shows 0 is where you're letting the metering system control your image, but then you can move it to overexposed by 1, overexposed by 2, just by turning the dial. When it comes to the Nikon and to the Canon, you'll see on your LCD this little range right here. So if you need to overexpose, you'll end up holding that button down, turning your control knob, and you'll see this start moving to the plus side if you want to more exposure, or you turn the control the other way and to underexpose your image a little more. And that's really the great thing with digital photography now. You know, you take the picture, you see it on the back of your camera, and you say, you know what, I just want to make this a little brighter or just a little darker. Yeah, it just gives you another image to work with when you go home as well. So, whoa. But that's kind of it.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, like I said, I've used it more for images like this, where you have a lot of trees and a little bit of sky. And so your matrix metering is going to compensate more toward the dark side and blow your skies out.
Bill, if you,
Yes.
if you do compensate for the, you know, you downstop it or whatever the term is, do you then, you feel comfortable doing that because you can fix the darker spots in post-processing?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, it depends on the type of camera, how old it may be.
Mhm.
You know, there's a term in there called dynamic range. Yeah. How much of the darks can you actually bring the shadows out? How much of the highlights can you actually bring back? And, you know, all cameras will be different. So, you know, particularly if you don't have something that has a high dynamic range, it's good to try to get it right before you go home,
Mhm.
because you're not going to be able to adjust it as much.
Right.
What are you looking at there, Helen?
I'm making, I'm making sure that I
Yeah,
understand.
that you have it.
I found it on the camera, so. Yeah,
And what is high dynamic range? I'm not familiar with that term.
Okay, it's kind of the range between the brightest part of your image and the darkest. And you can talk a lot of numbers behind this, but I'm not going to do that. But like in a camera like my Nikon D850, I have 15 stops of dynamic range. So if I have something that's really dark and you can almost not see anything on the image, I can put in processing and I can take that shadow slider and I can bring out the detail in that darkness. Now, some cameras might only have, you know, 5 stops of dynamic range. So when you go into post-processing, you won't be able to draw as much out of the shadows to push down on your highlights, your bright spots. Your eye, I believe they say, is about 30. So, when we look over off the deck of, the beach house at a duck, and we see the grassy areas and we see the eye, our eyes kind of acclimate to it very quickly. But the sensor in our cameras don't. They just have a narrower, ability to capture that light.
Mhm.
Bill, in the photograph with the pelican, the pelican started looking really nice, but then the water almost hurts my eyes to look at it. So how would you deal with that?
Well, when you back in post-processing,
Uh-huh.
you can take highlights and maybe try to bring them
Okay.
down a little bit to make it more pleasing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want a long explanation. I don't want to take the time. I just wanted to know just sort of generally.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
And
not
that's
cutting you
why-
off. Say what you as much as you want. Oh dear.
No, but the thing is you can take as many as these as you want. Because your images are basically free because it's digital. So like what Mark had said is that I did these in 1-stop increments, which is quite a bit of change, but you can do them in 1/3 of a stop, 2/3 of a stop, and take as many as you want, because there's going to be a balance that's going to be more pleasing for you.
Right.
And the more that you try it, the more you'll know where to go.
Right.
You know,
This is inspiring me to use post-processing.
yeah. And the thing with post-processing, I mean, it can do a lot of things, but
Yeah.
you have to know how to do it. So I figure the first stop is maybe try to do it on the camera with a simple adjustment of something called exposure compensation.
Well,
I
and
think you're right, because you want to try to get it right the first time so that you don't have to spend a lot of time on the post-processing.
Get it as right as you can.
If,
And
and
this
if
is
you're
just
if you're using a cell phone, at
Yeah.
least with iPhone, and I'm sure with Androids, the editing program in the phone can do this very same thing.
Okay.
There is an exposure slider that you can use, and I can't explain how the phone does it or how it's different from doing it in the camera, but it's a simpler method, and usually simpler is not all that good, but
Yeah.
there is a way of doing it with a phone as well.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah.
Hey, Bill, on the exposure compensation, like I go into the menu and you can see the dial, where it's at 0. And sometimes I'll just do one above and one below and then the middle, which I guess is really bracketing. But and then I put it on continuous. It takes 3 photos, and then you can look at them to see which is the best, and you can combine them.
And
Merge them together.
that's program next and program next after next.
Okay.
And I think everybody probably knows this already, but for beginning photographers, because I did this, is sometimes if you set your camera that way and you forget, the next time you take a picture with some of the cameras, you're still on that setting.
Right.
If you start to wonder what's going on. So anyway, I think probably all of you won't do that, but that's just a warning for beginners.
I've done
Oh,
it.
we do it, Susan.
Yeah.
We do it. I've been trying to, every time I pick up the camera now, I'm trying to do like a checklist like I used to do before I took a plane out. Just to go through the standardized process of, identifying that stuff, because you don't want to be in a situation where you have something really neat in front of you and you miss it because you didn't pay attention.
Yeah.
And it does happen.
Very helpful, thank you.
Very helpful,
Thank you.
well explained.
Yeah, and this is the kind of stuff where, as it gets warmer, and we can get down over at the, in the Farrington or so and sit down and actually take the cameras and start doing it and seeing it
Yeah.
happen. It's one thing to explain it, but then it's better to feel it, touch it, smell it. So, but practice it. Just
Yeah.
take those buttons, make those adjustments, just play.
Good
Okay,
advice. on
Michael.
everything.
Ready to move on? See if I can do this on my part. You see that?
It's
Yeah.
coming.
Okay, the slide is there now.
I got one more adjustment to make if I can remember what it is. It is play. Oh, I know what's happened. I've got this menu in my way. Okay, full screen.
Yes,
Green.
Okay, I have, the last time I did a PowerPoint program presentation, it's been over a decade. And I struggled a
I
little
feel your
bit.
pain.
I've struggled a little bit with this beyond the Zoom part of it. And the one thing that worries me, other than just not being able to push the right button, is that the quality of the photos. I'm not sure just how much going into PowerPoint, or I'm using Keynote on a Mac, how much it deteriorates the quality. And one of the things that it was an issue with a couple of photos that were submitted. Nobody that is online right now had this issue, but the files were just too small. And to get it so that it was a size that you could actually see it on the screen, took out, are you seeing at the top my menu button?
No,
You-
we're seeing a photograph.
Okay,
we're seeing
all
the
right.
photograph now.
Yeah. I have the Zoom menu up on top of mine, and I don't really like that, but anyway, you're seeing what you should see. Now, the question is, do you want to do these with people that are here first and then come back to the other ones at the end if we have time?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Okay,
But
Okay.
Mike, I have a question,
Yes.
which is when I was sending those photographs to you, I didn't know what size file to send, so I sent the original size.
That's what
So
you
if-
should do.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Send the largest file you can send.
okay.
Most of the shots were over a megabyte.
Okay.
And that was, I think, perfectly good.
Okay.
But you send kilobyte size files and they're just not going to blow up very well.
Right.
All right, let's go to this is Mike Blotzer's. Tom Marriott will come back. And this one is Susan.
No, that's Tom. Wait, go back one. Tom is on the phone. Tom is here. Just,
Oh, he
He's
is?
on
I didn't
mute.
see that.
yeah, Tom's
yeah,
here.
you're on
Okay.
mute. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here. I just got here, but I'm here.
Oh, okay. I didn't see you, Tom.
Oh,
And we were going to
there he
skip
is.
over people that weren't attending, get till we got to the end. Yep, this is Tom.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you.
Interesting.
Oh, okay. We're doing okay. So this is on Antioch Church Road, and this is a farmer named Durham. I don't know his first name, but nice guy. Anyway, I've always loved it because it's seldom that you get to see Christmas decorations from a distance.
Whoops. There we go.
And it's about a 20-acre field in front of this, so it's quite a. And then I took it, and then I started working on it, and all of a sudden the clouds appeared, and I thought, oh well, let's put those in. So that's it.
So were the clouds like that, Tom?
I couldn't see them. They didn't come out until I started working on it in post.
Uh-huh.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It
really-
was a full moon, I must say, but it was behind the clouds, and it was rainy. It was Saturday night. You
Hmm.
remember it was raining.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I like the squiggles of the boat that is apparently moving. Something's moving in the foreground, but that's cool.
It does look like a boat.
Does.
It does, yeah. And those are the TV towers, by the way, the
Yeah.
WUNC TV
Uh-huh.
towers. I guess that's obvious.
And
Nice.
where's that again? Is that out west of here?
Yeah.
It's on Antioch Church Road, which is off of Crawford Dairy Road. It's around the Frosty area. Do you know where that is?
No. Okay. So I remember I used to avoid 3 antennas when I was flying.
Ah,
Good idea.
Nice. They are twinkles. Ready
Yeah.
to move on? Okay, now Susan.
Okay.
Oh, that's
Nice.
great picture. Mm.
So this, it's kind, this actually I took a few weeks ago. It was with my iPhone. And it was the last night of Hanukkah, and this is my godchild Ileana. But I kind of feel like I feel like I don't take people pictures that well. I mean, I feel like it's something I have to work on. So anyway, that's kind of why I submitted this rather than taking something new. I had this from a few weeks ago, and I thought, well, let me see if I can get some feedback on taking people pictures.
Wow, I think it's great. I mean, the reflection on her face, and
Yeah.
expression, and in her eyes, and the candle, the fire is, it's not blown out or anything. Beautiful.
No, her face is in nice focus, and like you said, the light coming off the candles, gives her a nice bright view there. That's great.
Yeah.
That's
And-
fabulous.
And Susan,
And
I think,
did
go ahead.
Oh, yeah, Mike, what?
Oh, I was just gonna say, in terms of face,
Oh, I just
cat-
did some processing. Yeah,
the one really good thing about the picture in the face is the catch lights in her eyes. That's something to strive for in a person picture. I think if in terms of constructive criticism, I think it's a little red. And it's probably the wavelength of those candles bouncing off her face. But if you can, and you could do this on the iPhone too. You can change the color temperature. And if you moved it a little bit toward the blue side, I think that her face would turn out more fleshy in color. But I mean, that's a really picky point. And I think I would probably crop it a little bit more too, to get, especially at the top, there's a lot of negative space up there. But it's a really good picture.
Yeah.
And even up
I'm just wondering-
reflections on the table.
Yeah.
Just wondering where
I did
the
adjust, I
focus
did
point
adjust.
was.
What? What's that?
Just wondering where the focus point was, because the chair in the back seems to be in focus.
Mhm.
Right. Do you know where the focus point was, Susan?
I took it with the iPhone. I
Yeah.
have no
You
idea.
still, you can still,
Do you touch the screen where you want it to focus, or do you just let it do its own thing?
Oh, okay. I should have, okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah,
I'm just
wait.
not sure, because I see her hand is a little out of focus,
Mhm.
but it may be because of movement. But then when I see the chair in the background, it kind of tells me that,
but
it may have
with
just picked-
The thing
with
with,
I just may have picked up the chair.
with
ahead.
portraits, you want the face to be a little soft. The problem is
Yeah.
the chair is too focused, but her face is
Right.
nice and soft. I mean,
yeah.
And I this is something I learned from Beth. I don't know what iPhone was used, but I think on the current software,
all of them, Mike.
there's a portrait mode, and and whether you're taking a picture of a person or not a person, If you want to limit the depth of field, switch it to portrait mode. And it will,
Right.
portrait mode here would have kept her face in focus, and the chair, I think, probably would have gone out of focus a bit more. So.
You can also just touch the screen on the iPhone and it'll focus to that area.
Right.
And there's a way to lock that in. I don't want to get into it now and I can't really remember how to do it, but the iPhone photography school on YouTube has great videos about all of this stuff.
All right, gotta move along.
But her expression is just beautiful.
Yeah.
It is.
She's a sweetie pie.
She looks it. Okay, that's
Leslie,
mine.
Wow.
And I have this, and I have the same motivation that Susan had. So it's nice that this follows. I took this as an experiment wanting feedback. My house, it was taken after sunset.
Okay.
And my house is, completely shaded. So there was no, I mean, there's the windows, but I'm not, there wasn't a lot of reflective light coming into the house. It was dark. I couldn't see most of this stuff when I took the picture. I had the iPhone on a tripod and I just did it automatically and, touched the iPhone and it exposed, I think, for 3 seconds. But there are a couple of questions, things I just wanted to talk about or get feedback on. Like, I just thought it was really interesting how incredibly, it looks like it's daytime outside and you couldn't even see out the windows, so the camera picks up a lot of stuff that you don't even know is there.
Right.
But there are some white I think it must be reflective lights, like to the left of the Santa and in front of the fire. And I don't know where that reflection could have come from.
Well, obviously the red is coming from the fire, the one
Fire,
right
yeah,
to the
yeah.
right of them, but
Yeah,
to the
no,
left.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the little white dots that are below that in the black area.
yeah,
Oh.
look at where the dots are and look at the string lights that are above on the mantle.
Right,
It's reflecting that.
but how?
I think it must be bouncing off that table.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you. I could
think-
not figure it out.
And Leslie, that relates to another point that, and again, constructive
Yes,
criticism.
please.
Yeah, this is not a scene that you cannot manipulate,
Right,
meaning you can do things to it.
yes.
And think about what is in that scene that clutters the image. The
Ah, okay,
chair, maybe.
Yeah.
Right,
If the chair was out of there, that would be great.
okay,
And maybe the sleigh. I don't know about that, but you can also move the poinsettia in a little
Yes.
bit, I think.
yep,
And I think that the crop has to include the trees outside.
yeah,
But I don't know that it needs to have much of what's above on the mantle. You don't see the whole picture.
That's true.
The picture that's above the mantle.
yep,
And so simplifying it a bit and cropping it maybe a little tighter
Okay.
down from the top. But I
Right.
mean, it's amazing how well exposed it is.
It is.
yeah. That's what I was just, I really wasn't, I really value your feedback on the composition because I need help with that. But I was taking this picture mostly just to try to learn about this light compensation stuff and what to do about it. So although I manipulated this picture a little bit, that wasn't my main focus in taking the picture. I just wanted the contrast of the lights and the darks.
Yeah.
But I really thank you for your feedback because that's really important. Okay, so we figured out the dots and then
Oh, sorry.
no, that's fine. I think that was the main thing. This is my other photograph.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
I think
Yeah.
we're done with this one.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is really nice.
Thank you. And this one, I just want to point out to everybody that Twinkle, Twinkle, the little white dot that's above the tree on the on the upper left-hand coordinate is actually a star. It's not a blemish.
Wow.
This is
But-
great. How did you, is
It's
it
just the same thing, Susan. It was 3-second, timer. I stood on my back deck and I didn't even use the tripod. I just had the phone on top of, supported on a bench.
Hmm.
And then I just took it. I took a lot of photographs and even in burst mode, which was new for me. And
Did you use night mode?
yes, I think I did on this one. Some
And
of
the
them I
3
did, some
seconds
of them
with
I-
night mode.
Yeah, I did because it was all automatic. So yes, I didn't change any of the settings. But what was curious to me is that I could see, I mean, the moon is just really blown out because I could see all of the craters and stuff on the moon. But I still think it's a nice photograph.
Wow.
Nice,
It's
very
really
nice.
nice.
But
did you make it black and white or was this the color?
no, this was color. I mean, I didn't,
Okay.
this is the way the phone took the photograph. It was about 7:30 at night.
Mhm.
And yeah, I don't think I would want to crop it at all. I don't think.
No.
And with the clouds in the background, the need for the moon to be sharp or clear really doesn't happen
Right.
because it's a mood now. It's not,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, good
Great
feedback.
feel, great
Yeah.
feel.
yeah.
But
Yeah, if you just went to go after the moon to see the craters, you would have had to underexpose everything else more. But
Okay.
this is mood. This is
Right.
yeah, well,
this
that
is,
was
I
the
think, what-
question. Thank you. You answered my question without my even asking it, which was going to be how, if I had wanted the craters to be there, then I would have just lowered the exposure, right?
Yes.
would have
Okay.
lowered the exposure, and you would have wanted to be on a tripod.
But lowering the exposure and keeping the time the same, and maybe I wouldn't need to, anyway, this is probably more complicated than,
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, one always changes because of the other.
Yeah, and Leslie, I think the solution is part 3 of this discussion, 2 meetings after
Right.
this, is putting
oh, yeah,
exposures together.
Mhm.
So you get the best of 3 worlds.
oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah,
And we'll talk more about that in a couple weeks.
Yep.
okay, all right.
But this is a really good photo.
Yeah,
Oh, thank you.
lovely.
It does have a great mood to it.
And
Yeah.
the only thing I can add is,
Yes, please.
and it may just be on my screen or I don't know what, but on the bottom part
Mhm.
below the trees, I
Mhm.
see 2 dots.
Mhm.
Is that just me or is there something that others see?
Oh, I
Yeah,
think I
it's
see
there.
them too, yeah.
Yeah, I see him.
Yeah.
Sort of underneath the right-hand tree, the long,
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
underneath the triple tree, yeah.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
just 2 dots. They may be lights from something, but
Mhm.
clone tool within a lot of
Okay.
programs, you can just
Yep.
take those out.
Mhm.
Okay, all right.
All right,
Great.
great shot though.
All right, I have one more quick question, sorry. If I did lower the exposure so that the crater of the moons were showing, I wouldn't lose any information from the dark. I mean, can you go too dark and lose information like you can go too light and lose information?
I think there would be less separation between the clouds or any of the background. I think that if you darken, if you took an exposure that was down a notch or 2, everything would go, you would lose a lot of the silhouette. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
And the moon really doesn't bother me that much at all.
Yeah, no, it doesn't bother me. It's just,
Yeah.
it was so striking because it was such a clear night and I could
Yeah.
see it and then it came out fuzzy. So you've answered my questions. This is great. Thank you so
All
much.
right. Okay, Frank.
Very nice.
Oh, wow.
All right, this is my shot. This was taken we were over at the Umstead Hotel, just checking it out. And down the hallway, they had a beautiful tree with white lights. And it was in a dark corner and I didn't have a tripod. I wish I did, But I went down there and I took a picture of the tree, but then I went close up to it and zoomed in and got a picture of one of the bulbs with the lights all around it.
Mm,
Because I wanted, to go for what Graham always says, go for the picture within a picture.
mhm.
Excuse me. So I did that. Unfortunately, because I didn't have a tripod, I had to shoot at such a high ISO
Mhm.
that there was some noise in there, and I tried taking it out with the post-processing. Got some of it out, but this is what I was left with.
Well,
It's a
I think
beautiful-
the noise, and I can see it a little bit, but
Yeah,
it kind of, in this situation, if it was a clear blue sky, you'd immediately see it. In this,
Right.
it really just kind of, no pun intended, fades to the background, becomes part of the bokeh, the
yeah.
fuzzy part. It's a good shot.
Oh,
Lovely.
thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's,
it's
think the
it's a
weather-
better shot that it was not in the middle.
Yes,
Right, right.
And it's interesting that the tree lights just pretty much surround that glow, that particular ornament. Cool shot.
yeah.
That's what I liked about it, and plus the branches kind of,
Yeah, it's like
framed it
sitting
down
on the
below.
branch, yeah. Well, I think compositionally, it's just really lovely because, there's a lot of movement in it, even though it's a static.
Yeah.
With the lines of the tree that you were talking about, and then the lights and the mirror of the brown ornament up at the top. I think it's really nice. It's restful.
Oh, great.
Let me make one more comment that if you had, folding it back on what Bill has been talking about, if you had pumped this up to expose it a bit more, some of those pieces of the tree would have
Yeah.
had more detail in them. That would have been a bad thing in this shot, in my mind.
Mhm.
The fact that the branches that are sharp are around the frame, the outside of the frame, is really good. But if those interior branches had been
Further in,
clearer,
yeah.
better and better
Ones in the
exposed,
back.
I think it would have been distracting. So I think this was just spot on. And I need to say that something that I can't, somebody sent me a chat message, and I can't change my screen from showing the menu at the top, and I'm gonna have to figure that out. But somebody sent me a chat, and I'm sorry I haven't responded,
Oh,
but
it was-
I can't get to it. So anyway,
Mark,
but
Mark just
Yes,
sent, I looked at it. Mark just said, everybody have a wonderful Christmas. He had to go. See you
okay,
next time. So that's
okay.
what it was.
Bill,
okay. Okay,
Ooh,
this is, yeah, ooh, this is ugly, isn't it?
yeah, it's ugly, Bill. Terrible shot. What
Right.
could you be thinking?
Now, well, the next picture is going to be the fixed one. But
cool.
in this case here is that I took this on our tree at night. And this was only the lights on the trees that were illuminating this. And I used a lens that was a f4, so I had a fairly shallow depth of field.
Mhm.
I was shooting at an ISO of 64 because I didn't want any noise in it at all.
Mhm.
So you get then with a 2.5 second exposure would be something like this.
Mhm.
Now, you can only see a few areas of this image that is actually in focus.
Right.
And the ornament itself, which is actually straight up and down in front of you, if you look closer at it, is not in focus every place because
Right.
the depth of field is so narrow. Let's go to the next one, Mike. The next picture.
Oh, wow.
So what this is, it's at the exact same settings, except this is 21 images brought together in what they call focus stacking.
Okay. Wow.
So what I did is I had to go to manual focusing, and I tried to pick some spots all around the image and put them in focus. And just like with the little snowman now, he's in focus. The
Right?
entire ornament from bottom to top is in focus. I brought some of the edges in focus. Like I said, I used 21 different images. I focused 21 different places using the same settings, but just the spots of focusing.
Right.
And
Oh, okay.
then in Affinity, thank you, Tom. I brought the focus stacking and brought them together. And this was the one image that came out. And I did no further processing other than just stacking them together. Now, what was kind of silly, I did one before this, and I did it with 31 images. And I think I blew Affinity up because 70 images disappeared. 7 of the 31 fell off the face of the earth.
They went
They
to
weren't moved
infinity.
anyplace.
They went to infinity.
But so I did this thing last night. I mean, because the other one failed because I lost those 7 images. And I just decided to do less images since it made Affinity art. So yeah, and this is
Fascinating.
probably the second time I've tried to do focus stacking. And I've got a little more to learn, but you can see what you can do with it if you have limited light and you have to have your lens completely open. So, where Frank wanted the background to be out of focus,
Mhm.
I wanted more of it to be in
More of it,
focus.
yeah.
So it's just a matter of a different technique that you use to get your result.
And the
Bill, were you
alternative
standing-
would be opening up the stopping the lens down to f11, f16, but that's going to increase the time of your exposure.
Right.
Right. And every time the heat comes on, the little snowman would move.
Oh, right. That's it.
So
Bill, were you
timing is
standing
everything in
same-
many ways.
Bill, were you standing in the
Hmm?
same place when you took this picture and the other one?
Say again?
Did you take it from the same place?
Yeah.
As
Oh,
the
yeah.
other one?
It's
Okay.
it's on a tripod.
Okay. It's amazing.
So,
But again, the only thing you're adjusting is the focus. You're focusing on it, manually
Right.
on it, outside, then moving in all the way, I guess.
And the thing is what I had to do is when I moved to a certain area that I wanted to make sure was in focus, there's a button on the back of the, it's pluses and minuses. And the pluses brings you closer in so you can focus more granularly.
I got you. Okay, yeah. No, that's
so
something I
are
want
you
to try.
saying- so did you just take, let me see if I understand. So you took 21 photographs and just changed the focus?
Yep.
You were taking them and it was on manual? Is that?
Yep.
That's okay.
And I underexposed it by 1 f-stop because I know with my camera, if I wanted to lighten it up, I could do it. But when I did it, I wanted to keep it the way it was.
Mhm. Oh, very nice, Bill.
Yeah.
Good
just-
example.
Nice photograph.
Interesting.
I'm just curious, what's at the top of that ornament? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
It's back.
No, it isn't.
Oh, there's,
Nope.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Frank.
You got the one bulb, the second, and at the top, I'm trying to determine what that is.
Let me go see.
It's like a figure?
looks like a ribbon.
Interesting. Wow.
Well, we
Yeah, it's
lost
just a
Bill.
ribbon. No,
There he
you
is.
I
You
bet
had to
you
go
it's a
have to
ribbon.
look at it. Yeah, because it's, the tree is right outside the, my room here.
Oh, okay.
Very nice.
Very nice, Bill.
Hey, let's move it along time-wise.
Eddie.
Ding, ding. Oh,
I had to figure out who Elizabeth was to properly
Oh,
label
yeah,
this.
that's me. That's me. This kind of along the line that Susan's saying, trying to take more people pictures.
Mhm.
This I don't know how to explain it exactly. I was waiting for someone in the lobby of the cancer hospital and saw the tree. And that was, my holiday Christmas thing. But I wanted to get the contrast with, there were so many interesting people that walk through the lobby of the cancer hospital. And I had my iPhone, but I didn't want to just stand there taking pictures of people and making people feel uncomfortable or whatever. So there was a hallway right down from the tree, and I went down to the end of the hallway so they couldn't see me, I guess. And then as people walked by, I'd take their silhouette against the Christmas tree. So that was kind of interesting. And then from that, I chose this guy because, first of all, most of the people who were passing by were either people that were like very overweight, and I knew that would get the focus, and that wasn't what I wanted in the picture. And then this dude came along, and he, of course, didn't even know I was there, and so. And of course, because of what I was doing, the lighting and everything, this was anything but ideal in terms of trying to do it. So then I did do just odds and ends of post-processing to try to, pull the picture together.
Right.
So,
Betty, I don't want to rush it, but going back to Leslie's picture of the fireplace and taking charge of the scene. Move that chair.
Oh, yeah.
I liked the chair though, Michael. For some reason, the tree, the Christmas tree, the little tree behind it in the chair was why I chose kind of something. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the contrast or
maybe if it was just turned a little bit so it's not cutting off the bottom part of the tree.
Could be.
Yeah, and I think
that if it was like turned towards, like facing the guy that's walking.
In other words, it's distracting, is what you're saying. But
well, my point, if for moving the chair, and I get why you left it there, and I can see that literally and figuratively. But if the chair was gone, the tree can effectively be moved more to the right of the frame, and you get all of this kid's shoe on his back foot.
The problem is where I was down this hallway, I think, because I was deep down the hall, probably 15, 20 feet down a hallway, and then I had walls on either side. So actually, this is quite a cropped picture. I cropped out all the wall. I thought actually the walls would be really interesting, focusing in on this, but then they weren't. So at least I didn't think they were interesting. So I got kind of left with, this. Anyway, it was a kind of interesting and fun shot, different for me.
I'm sorry. What I would say is that I think the chair has a purpose besides just the sort of juxtaposition sort of thing, because it seems like the legs of the chair are parallel to the lines of the rug, which sort of both go towards the tree. And then the triangle, you could have used this for our geometry or place. The triangle of the guy's legs is sort of like the triangle of the tree. And there's a lot of sort of movement, and you could write a million different stories about this photograph, which, I don't know technically about stuff, but I like photographs that you can write stories about.
Yeah.
And I think this one could have a really interesting story.
Yeah, I was kind of going for, when I was around there thinking that I want, either mood stuff or I wanted story stuff, because certainly there was a lot of material. Anyway.
And if you're going for story stuff, then, the chair cutting off the tree, that could become part of the story. It gives you more things to think about and write about. It's just another way of looking at it. So.
One of the things I'm hearing, other than a dog bark, is that we probably need to have a challenge on portraits, people
Mm.
shots.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the one thing with this picture is I kind of wished he were in focus a little bit more, but I don't know
Yes.
how you, I can't tell you how you could do it, but I could tell you that.
Well,
You
yeah,
can do it with
and-
the burst motion, the burst function on the iPhone.
Okay.
I think this is
because that
all
will
about,
take-
I think this is all about movement. The tree is in focus. Look at his foot that's flat on the mat. Even that's in focus. I think everything else has to do with movement.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But there is a burst mode on the iPhone that if you use it, it will take many pictures in succession as long as you've got it on. And then you can take one that's, pick one that's the right focus you want.
Oh, actually, that was another thing. I didn't use the burst mode, but I used live mode, on the thing.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, I wanted him, I mean, he was, walking across. And so I had pictures of him in front of the tree, on the other side, in front of the chair and everything. This was the only place. It's kind of like one of those little trial things that you do. Like now, if I get a chance to go back there, I'm going to go down that hallway with some things in mind, and actually I caught a doctor coming around the corner with his thing that would have been great, except it was all out of focus. So
Try the burst mode, Betty, because that, and there's a good YouTube on burst mode in the iPhone photography school thing. It's about 2 years old. You have to look for it, but it's really good.
okay, let's move to the next one. There's just a,
Wow, nice.
this is more simple kind of thing. This is again, Helen and I were at Fresh Market, and it just was so beautiful and Christmassy, and
This is a great catalog
I
shot.
like this.
They could use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this was not premeditated. It was just, snapping pictures with iPhone, and it wasn't particularly in focus or anything, but I've tried maybe to get the feel of, what a pretty place to shop, right?
Mhm.
Well, I don't know what you see as the problem with focus, because it looks sharp to me on my screen.
Mhm.
And I really like the lighting is perfect. I mean, what is really the focus is brightly lit, and the area all around the picture, top everywhere, is in semi shadow. I don't know how to say it, but it's darker. It's
vignette.
darker than what is the.
I put a vignette around it.
Okay, well, that works. I mean, that's
Yeah.
perfect. I was going to say vignette, but there's not.
Yeah.
I think it's more the lighting than it is the vignette, but it's well done. Okay,
Right.
I'm gonna have to escape this screen to go back to to one picture at the very, very beginning. Now that we've covered, well, I guess we should do Mark's, because he was here, and I'm sure he'll
we should
watch
do-
this is Mark.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Oh,
interesting.
Well, I wish he was here to talk about it.
yeah.
Yeah. At first the color of the pine cones bothered me, but they're all spray painted white. So yeah, I like it. And then
Yeah.
the neat thing is that the highlights, the very far, I think maybe if I was doing this, I would crop that candle on the far right out, because it's blown. The candle's been blown out.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Never mind. Bad pun. But I would have still, nobody got it. I think I would have just left the two.
Yes.
I got the bad part, Mike.
What if
It
he had changed the light a little bit and gotten it a little darker?
Hmm.
A little
Then
contrast.
the pine cones wouldn't have looked, I guess I like them, that they look kind of eerie, but it might have, I might have liked the picture better if it had been a little darker.
And he may had to move around the candles a little bit because in the left top hand corner is kind of
Yep.
probably a tile or something that's just,
Mhm.
yeah, so maybe by moving around a little bit, yeah, maybe to get
Gotten that out.
maybe to get the 2 candles instead of 3, and maybe give it a different perspective of the place in the background.
Yeah,
I would
that-
edit that white out.
what you're seeing in that left-hand corner, Bill, I think is probably the even more distracting than the blown out candle. But
Well, what about the blue on the,
Yeah, I find the blue kind of.
I don't know what that is, and
it's
my eye
it's
keeps-
flame.
From the
It's flame.
Oh, it's the flame. What's it reflect? I'm
Yeah.
not following this picture at all then. Oh, is it that,
Right.
is this in front of a fireplace?
Yep.
Yep.
Well, it's in
Oh,
front of a
okay.
fireplace.
Yeah, okay. All right. So my question about this photograph is that it seems very soft and very, I don't know if it's too red or too yellow, orange, maybe. But a lot of photographs that I've taken in the past inside at night or whatever come out with this kind of a cast or hue on it. So I'm wondering what people think about the softness of it combined with the color of it. Could- So
I'm
that's it. Sorry.
I can't tell if it's noise that makes it so soft. It doesn't look
Mhm.
like there's a lot of noise in the background, but I don't know.
Mhm. Okay.
It almost
And
looks
maybe-
to me like it's through a glass, you know,
Yeah.
we're taken through a window.
Yeah.
Mm.
Good point, Betty.
Don't you think
And then
he
the
looked like at
texture.
the fireplace and soft light by the fireplace and so, you know, dreamy Christmas nights, all that kind of stuff.
I'm gonna have to totally back out of the full screen thing to get back to Mike Blotzer's photo at the beginning. If it will let me do this.
Okay.
View, navigator. And then view, slide only. We have about 15 minutes left, but
That's interesting.
That is.
and
Who
it's
took this
nicely
one?
framed. The lights,
Yeah.
the lights are the frame.
Yeah.
Who
With
took
it.
this picture?
Mike Blotzer.
Might be.
Okay.
Now,
I
was it his iPhone or was it
I
Did
don't
it
think
say?
I don't think he said.
hmm.
Can't remember.
I think that my suggestion would be to apply to this what you told me I should apply to my photograph, which is simplify. Edit out some
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, I think we're on the same path in terms of taking charge of it. I would, if there was, it's in a sink. Get a plant that is tall enough to put in the sink that blocks out the faucet.
Oh,
Okay.
oh,
I didn't even see the faucet amongst all
I
the other
didn't
stuff.
even
Yeah.
see the faucet, no.
Make the faucet disappear.
Yeah.
Or at least give it a, get a costume for it, like Nessie or something, yeah.
Fun with the faucet.
All right. I'm going to go down to Chris's shots.
But I do like the frame of the light against the window frame, all of the
Mhm.
framing in that one.
Yeah,
Oh, there's Chris's.
that's a Chris shot.
That is.
Great.
Is this, is it a blow up? I mean, is it a, I don't mean that in the sense of cropping, but is the motorcycle a balloon?
No, he said that was here in Farrington. I don't know where it is, but he
Yeah.
said it was near the someplace.
It doesn't look like a balloon.
It does. It looks like a blown up thing.
I don't know how that thing has not been stolen.
Yeah.
It's a good shot.
It
Yeah.
is.
I think it would be even better, Chris, because I know he'll watch it. If it was, I know this was done with an iPhone. I know that. And this is another one where the portrait mode might have helped to get some of the background a little blurrier.
You know,
kind of-
it doesn't work very well, I've noticed on the iPhone, unless you get good distance between the subject and the background. You know, you have to have a fair distance to get it blurry enough to really give that nice soft.
Yeah, I haven't played around with it very much, but I think that's probably right.
They give you all these little instructions, you know, like you're too close, you're too far away,
Yeah.
you're this. And, you know, by the time you get yourself in the right place to take the thing in the front, then you realize, uh-oh, the background is too close to the front. So it doesn't really look any different than if you had just taken it with the, you know, the regular photo.
Well, it's a good
I
photo.
I have a question about this photograph. Would an option have been to take like a step back, have more of the picture, and then you wouldn't have a fight between getting the dog's legs in and the peak of the roof? I'm not saying it's not aesthetically, it's just a sort of a technical kind of question.
It's often a good thing to take it a little wider, because
Mhm.
you can always make it smaller, but
Yeah,
if you
Right.
take it smaller, you can't make it any wider.
Right.
yeah.
It's,
That's one of my personal rules, to have more. And the other thing that it helps with, maybe illustrated on his other photo, if you back up a little bit, you can use software to get rid of parallax, where it tilts in at the top,
Oh, right.
or flares out at the top. Let me look at
Right.
this next one. Well, it didn't want me to look at the next one. Oh, I've got to be.
It's a good angle,
Mhm.
good angle. Yeah. I mean, good balance with the
the
angle.
relationship of the dog to the
Yeah.
motorcycle is great.
Yeah.
But we're, oh.
Ooh.
This is
Over at the
Chris's
end.
as well. And this, you
Oh.
see how the building
Yeah.
tilts in towards the
Yeah.
middle? And for architecture, that's a no-no. If you have enough that you can cut some out, you can move those pillars so that they are vertical to the sides of the picture. But this is a great picture because of the sky for me. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm trying to
Got the
figure out
stars
if
up there.
that's the Northern Star or the Big Dipper or what it is.
Mm.
If I remember correctly, he took this on night mode with a 30-second delay handheld.
Ah, wow.
Wow.
Really?
Why would he do a
Unless-
30-second?
Unless it was a typo and he meant 3 second, but I think he told me 30 second. I don't even know that it has a 30-second.
No, it doesn't.
Right.
Okay, so then it must have been a 3-second delay.
Was it with his iPhone?
Yes, on the night mode.
Okay.
That's impressive, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The lighting's a strong point, and focus is something that I think, because it was even handheld 3 seconds, I couldn't hold it that long.
No.
I don't know who could.
Well, he can.
He's got steady hands.
It looked like there was some picture that you skipped that was 2 back or 3 back. It looked like a star or something. One after Mark's. Yeah, that. What's that? Is that Mark's?
No, that's one that I called from my archives. I took that picture a very long time ago.
Ah,
Back in Oklahoma.
oh, it's
At
your
one-
picture.
At one point, we had a couple of those metal trees that had lights on them, and I think I was playing more with the telephoto than I was anything else. But that was going to be the concluding slide and not talk about it very much. But it was a good meeting, you all.
It was a great meeting.
Yeah.
Excellent meeting.
Yes.
Do we, how are we proceeding from here? Do we have a challenge? Do we decide for a challenge now? I don't know.
I think our challenge, I think our group, as we go forward as a committee of the whole, that we
Right.
decide on a challenge now. This
Right,
group,
okay,
we do.
People, portraits.
okay.
All right. Yeah, you mentioned that before, Michael. Yeah.
If you,
How about portraits?
I mean, it's just an idea because it's challenging. I mean, it really is challenging, especially lighting.
Mhm.
And maybe do we, that we had talked about doing the next step on exposure compensation next time and the time after that. I
Mhm.
suppose we could skip that for a meeting and do a tips and tricks on people photography, unless you want to just give a run at it and we'll go from there. I'm sure Bill will send you
And it
some
would be
email,
the
some
same day.
videos.
I think
But it'd be the same day then.
personally, I would like to stick with the exposure compensation stuff and
Yeah.
build on that,
Yeah.
whatever the photograph is that we take, because I've learned a lot today and it's been really helpful.
Yeah.
Let's go with the next step in the trilogy and do the challenge as portraits. And if we want to come back 2 meetings from then and maybe redo our portraits based on what we've learned, we could do that. I think there's a lot in portraits in maybe one time, one challenge may not be even scratching the surface for us.
Do you
Maybe it would
mean
be better
real-
to leave portraits until after this 3 session, because that, I mean, we could take portraits, but not concentrate on the aspect of it being portraiture, but exposure sort of a thing.
Mhm.
Are we talking about portraits like, formal portraits type
No.
thing as opposed to street photography people or what?
Either.
It can be both,
Oh,
yeah.
okay,
either.
great. Because I don't want to do
I-
formal portraits.
No.
I guess the closer label would be people pictures.
Yeah, people photography or whatever.
Okay.
And, we
Now,
could
one-
do it as we could do it as a challenge, kind of do it cold, and then we could have some sequence after we finish the exposure stuff, we could have a sequence on, the people photography.
Oh,
Because
that's a
that
great
probably is
idea.
more than one tips and tricks.
Yeah.
But we can
My
see where
view,
we are.
my view is that the way this group has evolved is unique and that we talk about pictures in more detail than maybe a lot of groups do. But I have found that the discussion of the photographs are as much tips and tricks as the
Yeah.
tips and tricks are.
Yes.
Yes.
So, but
And
well, how about this? We have a steering committee meeting next Tuesday and we'll figure it out then and then
Good.
publicize it.
Well,
Good.
the other thing though, I have to say is since sometimes I'm slow to getting around photographs, I'd kind of rather have us set up what the challenge is going to be. So we at least have 2 weeks instead of 1
Give
week.
you more time to do it, you're
Yeah,
saying.
so I don't know. I mean, people to me seems fine and we could also play
Yeah.
around
Yep.
with exposure composition and,
Okay, I'm good with
Yeah.
that, obviously.
4 weeks from now or 3 weeks or whatever, do the portraits. Yeah,
And
that's.
Bill, will you do the usual thing with some videos, posting them for personal study?
Yep.
All right.
One question that I have is, one thing that I mentioned that we were going to start timing the photos to make sure that we don't start running really long. There was a time early on and I figured I'd just see how it goes the first time.
Mhm.
And some of the images started going like a little longer in time, but we were able to catch up.
Mm.
Yeah.
But do we want to put something a little more hard, fast in there if we have more than, say, 15 images? Because we said we had, 14 images today, and it seemed to work out just fine. But if all of a sudden we have 20, we may have to put stops in
Yeah.
there.
Mhm.
I have a suggestion, which is that this doesn't answer the whole question, but if somebody puts in more than one photograph, that they choose which one they want to talk about, so that both of their photographs, like with mine, I feel like I took a lot of time with both of my photographs. And I could have picked one or the other to have my questions answered more in depth, if you see what I mean.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So that's
and
one way of doing it.
well, and there's a hybrid way too, I guess. You can contribute one and say, this is the one I want discussed, but
Right.
include another one so that if we wind up with extra time, we can go back to them.
That's
not-
what I was thinking of, yeah.
So
Yeah.
one
That is-
photograph marked as such with a backup photo marked as such. When
Good
I
idea.
saw that we only had 14, 15 pictures today, I thought this meeting's gonna last an hour.
Yeah. That's why
Not.
I didn't even consider, saying, well, do we have 4 minutes and that's it? You know,
Yeah,
so, probably if we have under 16, we're probably fine to
mhm,
Yeah,
let a few go a little long and a few a little short, and it'll probably work itself out. But if we start having 20 or 22 or 23, then we're gonna have to start putting
Yeah.
hard stops in.
and with the normal
Okay.
attendance we've had, 15 photos, one from each person would be a good fit, but. And then maybe we can have another day that we devote to that other picture. So
or
anyway, good meeting you
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
Thanks for,
Happy holidays.
holidays, stay safe, and
Yeah, everybody have a great holiday.
yeah,
we're meeting in 2 weeks.
Yes.
meeting in 2 weeks, except for
And
Helen
it's
Bill
people's
and
the
Frank
challenge.
and me.
Yeah.
What, Betty, what did you say?
That people is the challenge.
People is the
People.
challenge.
Beside
And
that, people is the, okay, great. See you in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right,
Holidays.
bye.
Yes.
Bye.
Merry Christmas.
have a great
Happy
holiday.
holidays.